Welcome back to the channel Legendary Legacy, Audiobook Free Daily, a channel that shares the audio recap and full audiobook of the legendary best-selling books of all time without spending a penny. Today, we will continue with the book Thick Face, Black Heart by author Chin-Ning Chu. This is a book that teaches you how to apply the ancient wisdom of Asian philosophy and strategy to achieve success in business and life. We will proceed with Episode 14, Thick Within, Black Within. You can listen to the recap audiobook episodes of the channel are published on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and other podcast platforms. You can search for our channel by typing Legendary Legacy, Audiobook Recap into the search bar. Please support our channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing so that we have more motivation to produce more audiobook episodes with the best and latest quality. Thank you for listening and have a nice day. Episode 14, Thick Within, Black Within. You cannot obtain what you already have. The secret of how to obtain the state of thick face, black heart is that there is nothing to obtain because thick face, black heart is your natural state. You cannot obtain anything that you already have. You merely have to remove the barriers and discover that which you already possess. As a tiger need not learn how to be fierce, the ocean need not learn to be oceanic, and the fire burns the forest without asking, "How do I burn?" So, human beings need not take lessons on how to be natural beings. Our Maker has implanted the perfect intelligence inherently within the essence of all things. Through our proper social upbringing, we have disfigured the intuitive understanding of the natural law of winning that is within each one of us. We have distorted the natural ability of thick face, black heart, which was intended to support our spiritual and material growth. Now our task is to rediscover and recover what we already possess. The blessing and the curse of free will. I am able to love my God, because He gives me freedom to deny Him. Rabindranath Tagore. Each human being is fully embodied with free will, a total and complete divine intelligence imparted by our Maker to use as we see fit in fulfilling our highest good. Through our free will, topped with a healthy dose of ignorance and confusion, we often handle our lives like a blind man driving an automobile. The only way we manage to stop is by crashing. The gift of free will that our Maker has bestowed upon each of us is the greatest blessing, as well as the greatest curse. 7 Stages of Unfolding. The degree to which you understand the universe in which you live is in direct proportion to the degree of understanding you have of your true self. Additionally, the degree of your accomplishments is in direct proportion to your ability to overcome the obstacles along the path of your life's journey. In order to discover your natural state of being, you must undo the wrongs that have been imposed upon you since your birth. The first step is self-reflection and self-discovery. Following are the 7 stages of self-unfoldment in the state of thick face, black heart. 1. The desire to do right. You feel the intense desire to do good, to do the right thing. At this stage, you also feel helpless. Your life is filled with conflicts within and without. In your experience, good people and good actions may be rewarded spiritually, but in the real world, they always seem to be getting the short end. You see, the only reward for being good is good itself. Because of this you feel desperate, dejected and disheartened. At this stage, you have no tolerance for thick face, black heart. You think that it is only for sinister-minded people. 2. Confusion and negativity. Eventually you begin to gain insight. Up to this point you think you have been making a noble sacrifice, when in fact you have not been sacrificing at all. Rather, you have been denying and depriving yourself, afraid to acknowledge your needs. Before you are a son, daughter, husband, wife, employee, executive, politician, entrepreneur, lawyer, policeman, you are a human who possesses natural and basic human needs. By ignoring your individual needs and totally catering to the needs of others in accordance to the role you are playing, you have betrayed your inner nature and sacrificed your well-being. In fact, you have victimized yourself through self-denial. This was done under the noble pretense of self-sacrifice. You begin to feel anger and resentment, and at the same time you feel guilty about these despicable emotions, which are unfit for people of your character. At this stage, you are confused. You begin to reevaluate all of your previous concepts of repulsion towards thick face, black heart. 3. The battle for surrender. You finally reach the conclusion that it is too painful to live your life without the liberty of self-expression and self-nurturing. You cannot contribute to anyone if you cannot contribute to yourself. The pain of living under others' standards has become intolerable. By now you are persuading yourself to accept your despicable emotions. Anger and guilt fill you, and are part of you for the time being. You have reached the conclusion that life is just as painful whether you practice self-denial by living up to others' expectations or practice self-expression and feel guilty about it. At least, you feel, the latter option creates the opportunity for movement within you. 4. Acceptance of your imperfect perfection. You are evolving to the point where you are less judgmental about your anger and resentment. You start to see yourself as imperfectly perfect. You experience love for your perfection and your imperfections. You begin to be aware that a great courage exists within you, the power of courage that enables you to acknowledge your own existence and your own needs. Your need for self-nurturing is more important than the expectations others have set for you. You begin to break new ground and set new standards for yourself. At this point, all the people who know you will realize you are changing, certainly for the worse. They will think you have become totally self-centered and inconsiderate of others. You break all the expectations of the old and familiar. You are responding to the screams from within, if I have one life to live, I want to live as me. You are in ecstasy over the possible new realms that await you, but also in agony over the abandonment of the old. Just like the moment before parachuting from an airplane, you are full of fear and excited anticipation. Yet during this transition period, it will be painful at times. This is the stage when Arjuna is confused and overcome with grief about waging battle against his beloved people. Most of all, he is forced to uproot his limited concept of goodness and embrace the expanded virtue. 5. The new possibilities. Eventually, the old and unworthy will fall by the wayside. They will drop from your life. Like a magnet, you will draw new and exciting events and people because like attracts like. At this stage, you have begun to develop the natural power of thick face, black heart. This power gives you the strength to stand up against your automatic, habitual actions and thoughts and venture into the new frontier. As each event crosses your path, you will not react automatically according your old ways. You will take a moment to reach within yourself for guidance and discover the best course of action. Black heart. In your business and personal encounters, you become steadier and more centered. 6. The inner harmony. By breaking through your notion of others' standards and expectations, you find a new surge of inner harmony, the unfamiliar emotion of peace and tranquility. You begin to experience genuine compassion for others. Not because you are supposed to, or because you feel guilty if you don't, but rather through your own love for yourself. You recognize that the flame of love burning within you is equally present in others, even though they may not perceive it themselves. At this stage, when others slap you in the face, you no longer feel like a victim of your sense of morality. Why? Oh, you have a choice, to slap back twice, or turn the other cheek. The decision of how to react will be in accord with the result that you are looking for. Thick face, black heart has become the constant companion of your thoughts. Through practice and contemplation, thick face, black heart transcends from an indefinite idea to an integral part of your natural state. 7. Detachment, the power source of magnetism. The highest code of living is detachment. There is no power higher than the power of detachment. When one masters the state of detachment, he becomes the embodiment of dispassion and fearlessness. At this stage, nothing he possesses will possess him. He becomes the master of his possessions, rather than being possessed by them. He becomes the master of his universe. Detachment is the secret key to obtaining everything you want. Have you ever noticed when you stop wanting something, the object of your desire comes to you naturally? You cannot keep it away from you. This is the mystery of how the world works. This mysterious principle somehow works for material objects as well as with people. At this stage, you are to the world as the lotus blossom is to the mud pond. Though it has grown from the mud pond, it is yet untouched by the mud. In terms of material possessions, have and have not are no longer so different, they look more the same to you. You are in the world, but you also transcend the world. At this stage, your state of mind regarding material success is that of satisfied dissatisfaction. You will challenge your limitations for the pure joy of challenge, for continued expansion is the natural expression of your own divinity. Man's three qualities. According to Eastern thought, human nature can be divided into three qualities. Everyone possesses all three in different degrees. However, each individual is dominated by one of the three that influences his character and directs his behavior the most. These three qualities are called the three gunas in Sanskrit. Although all human beings are created equal, their accomplishments in life are different. The reason is due to their natural temperament and their proficiency in self-effort in relationship to the three gunas, tamas, inertia, rajas, activity, and sattva, wisdom. The source of these gunas is from the karmic impressions left by past actions, d various kinds of understanding we have acquired through our life. Tamas. The qualities of tamas include inertia, obstruction, ignorance and ego domination. When one is in this state, one feels physically sluggish, lethargic and inactive, mentally foggy, dull and heavy, with a tendency to procrastinate, spiritually unenthusiastic, unresponsive and bored. In this state, when one does act, the guiding force for action is dominated by solid ignorance. The 13th century prophet Chin-Ning Chu described the state when tamas guna predominates our psyche. The body decays, there is little desire for work, and a person yawns continuously. As a falling stone cannot turn itself over, he remains unable to change in his posture. Even if the earth were to descend into the nether regions, or the sky fall down on him, it would not occur to him to rise. He would like to sleep for as long as the earth exists, for he has no other desire. This state was also described in the Philokalia, a prose anthology of Greek Christian monastic texts, compiled during the 18th century. Physical weakness and heaviness enter the soul through laziness and negligence and bring faintness of soul. When one is in this state, one is in a state of living death. Rajas. Rajas represents activity and struggle, influenced by the ego. In this state one is actively performing his tasks. The mind is agitated, excited, struggling, and sometimes in pain. The spirit is often restless. Activities may bring momentary pleasure, yet the nature of this pleasure is fickle. Rajasic people are go-getters. They aggressively participe in the process of making money. They thrive on the excitement of activities. Their actions may lead to the results they seek, however, the pleasure of success may not last because the motivational source of the action is ego-centered and self-serving. Most of the activities in today's business world are centered around Rajas gunas. Through the actions of the Rajas guna, money follows and pleasures are purchased, but Rajas do not provide inner satisfaction because the nature of Rajas is not satisfaction, rather pain and struggle. When you have no satisfaction, you feel you need to do more in order to make more money so you can buy more satisfaction. The cycle goes on. You become enslaved by the need to act in order to sustain your life. The driving force of the Rajas guna is the same force which motivates us and causes us to land in places where we do not belong. This is the reason, from the ancient to present, that true teachers do not teach the quick method of hyping one's enthusiasm as a solution to human development. They take the solid path of guiding us, and delve deeply into the source of our divine enthusiasm. The objective of many human motivational books, tapes, and seminars is to inspire their participants be enthusiastic about their lives, and move them from a state of inertia into a state of activity. These tools are useful, but incomplete. A sick soul is the source of a weary mind, which leads to feeble performance. These motivational techniques are inadequate to move you to the state of sattva, the divine satisfaction. They may move you from the tamasic state, inertia, to the rajasic state, activity, but the fruit of your work provides no nectar. When you move from inertia to activity in any focused area, there will be visible improvement in the quality of your life. For many, it is enough to have moved from the state of living death to the state of active living. However, because these activities are influenced partially by the ignorant human ego, their success is often short-lived or mixed with pain and struggle. Your hard work and activity ultimately become the source of your misery. Even your work is divinely ordained, however, due to your lack of understanding the art of detachment while performing your work engulfs you, and that very work will be the source of your betrayal. The example of a few great successes of our recent times will make it clear that action alone may bring success and pleasure, but the ultimate result often leaves you disillusioned and dissatisfied. President Lyndon Johnson, after he devoted his whole life to diligent public service as a champion for the poor and the needy, was voluntarily retired from the White House. After his retirement, according to his close friends, he felt so disheartened that he literally drank himself to death. President Nixon's ego-oriented actions led him to fall at the peak of his political career. Former British Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher, who struggled all of her life and held the seat of Prime Minister longer than anyone else in the history of Britain, was removed from office by her own party in the middle of her elected term. The power of Rajas is dynamic. It provides riches and glory, yet its fruits are fickle and not without pain and disillusionment. Sattva. The nature of sattva is expansion, pleasure, knowledge, and wisdom. One acts by being in tune with the guidance of that inner wisdom. In public, he is energetic and purposeful. In private, he is humbly cautious. He questions whether his actions are in line with the law of Dharma. Thus, the results of these actions are always beneficial for the greater good, as well as in fulfilling his personal destiny. The state of sattva is pleasure dictated by actions that are guided by wisdom and knowledge. One acts with purpose and detachment. He understands that the essential reward of action is the joy of action itself. The material reward is frosting on the cake. Although he welcomes all the glory the world has to offer, he has transcended the ego-driving expectations. The possibility of failure does not crush him. He is indifferent to pain and struggle. The situation might be devastating, but he is not devastated. He graciously rides the waves of life through glory and disgrace. Shakespeare's Hamlet is considered a play of human tragedy. Yet I see it as a celebration of the human spirit triumphing over itself, victory over the struggle between man's lower nature and his higher nature. Hamlet goes through the transformation from the tamas, ignorance, to rajas, participation, then dies in the state of sattva, expansion. A thick face, black heart practitioner is dominated either by the qualities of rajas or sattva, depending upon the person's natural temperament. However, the state of sattva is the aspiration of each individual. Mimic the virtues of the four forces. There's nothing, and we think there's nothing at all, but listen, that echo really answers. Japanese Zen saying. The state of sattva exists in its entirety within the manifesta, thicken of nature, and it is the ultimate state of thick face, black heart. By observing and meditating upon nature, we catch a glimpse of this state, as did the greatest Catholic saint, Francis of Assisi, in his most moving prayer, the Canticle of the Creature, in which he praises the natural working of God's world. Praise be to thee, my Lord, for brother wind, for air and clouds, clear sky and all the weathers through which thou sustainest all thy creatures. Praise be to thee, my Lord, for sister water. She is useful and humble, precious, and pure. Praise be to thee, my Lord, for brother fire, through him our night thou dost enlighten, and his is fair and merry, boisterous, and strong. Praise be to thee, my Lord, for our mother earth, who nourishes and sustains us all, bringing forth diverse fruits and many-colored flowers and herbs. Nature follows the perfect law. This law manifests itself as the perfect discipline, perfect justice, perfect strength, perfect surrender, perfect detachment, perfect giving, perfect sacrifice, perfect conquest, perfect harmony, and perfect ruthlessness. Nature is the embodiment of thick face, black heart. The law of nature is the state of sattva and the perfect expression of thick face, black heart. By contemplation upon natural forces, one obtains the state of thick face, black heart. The elements of nature are indifferent to human judgments. They are non-compromising with human standards. They possess freedom and the courage of action. This action can be submissive or aggressive, ruthless or gentle, compass, cyanate or dispassionate, yet it always remains vigorous, active, and disciplined. It always remains true to its dharma, and it is ever detached. Developing godlike ego and godlike humility. Ego is considered by the Eastern philosophies to be a human's worst enemy. Western psychologists credit it for all the achievements of mankind. The Easterner wants to get rid of the ego, the Westerner wishes to nurture it. Godlike ego. Recently an associate of mine asked me, "You do a lot of speaking publicly, what do you do not to be intimidated?" I replied, "I was never intimidated. I don't know why, maybe because I have an extraordinarily arrogant spirit." The question of ego is not whether we should kill it or keep it, whether it is good or bad for us. The real problem is that we do not have the worthy of contemplation is the kind of ego that our Creator possesses, absolute, ultimate, gigantic, and huge. Once this godlike ego enters your consciousness, it naturally destroys petty-mindedness and expands. Awareness. Your ability to obtain the state of thick face, black heart has a direct relationship with your ability to incorporate this God-like ego state into your awareness. God-like ego is not something I can describe to you, just as I can't describe a piece of exotic fruit I once ate in Thailand. It can only be obtained through direct experience. Possessing a God-like ego is the result of our small human ego touching the divine. God-like humility. Lately, when I have run into friends, the words, "getting out of the way," have kept popping up in different circumstances. One thing these friends all have in common is the way they use these words in the context of getting their small ego out of the way so their life will work. If you can detach yourself from your small ego, your pettiness, and instead understand the nature of your relation to the divine, then you can allow your life to unfold naturally. You free yourself from trivial concerns and find the peace you seek in the bigger picture. The other side of a godlike ego is godlike humility. This is also an objective of a thick face, black heart practitioner, to be able to get petty-mindedness out of the way and simultaneously master ultimate humility and frailty. In strength, he is unconquerable; when frail, he is invincible. I have often thought to myself how humble God truly is. This is particularly apparent whenever I have a late meal then want to sleep, or whenever I shove too much food into my stomach and demand that my stomach do its job. My stomach may feel pain and discomfort, but it never refuses to perform its duty to the best of its ability. If our Creator had not implanted His humility within our organs to serve us unconditionally, Our organs certainly would have the right to go on strike and refuse to function unless we treat them with more respect. Although the East and West may not agree on the terminology and definition of the word ego, they both agree on the importance of developing that awareness which supports our sense of connection to our Maker and assists us in manifesting a strong sense of who we are in achieving our highest good. At the same time, they also agree that we should uproot our inferior and unworthy qualities from the depths of our soul. The universality of thick face, black heart. Thick face, black heart is the intangible weapon of one's inner strength, which defends, supports, and protects us in our business encounters and daily life. The source of this strength and the mental toughness of thick face, black heart lies within that unshakable center deep within our spirit. The quest for thick face, black heart is a spiritual matter. Once we locate the source of thick face, black heart, we may freely apply the concept to every aspect of our lives. During my studies I have seen no diversity, only unity among the teachings of the East and West. East and West may have different metaphors and symbols, but the differences are only in the wrapping, not in the essence. The works of the 16th century Spanish mystics such as Saint John of the Cross and Saint Teresa of Avila, as well as the 13th century mystic St. Francis of Assisi, all speak of the same divine state as found in the recordings of the Hindu and Buddhist doctrines. The description of the 7 stages of spiritual progress by Saint Teresa of Avila, in her book Interior Castle, are identical in detail to the Hindu recordings of the spiritual journey through the 7 chakras, spiritual centers within one's body, toward the goal of divine union. I have repeatedly demonstrated, both at practical and mundane levels, the universality of thick face, black heart. Lao Tzu, President Abraham Lincoln, Mahatma Gandhi. These people all speak of thick face, black heart. Although these people were divided by culture, time, space, and nationality, their state of mind is one. The world manifests itself through infinite forms, we are all, in essence, the children of one Maker. Summary of key points. Key points 1, thick is within, black is within. We cannot obtain what we already have. Key points 2, through our proper social upbringing, we have disfigured the intuitive understanding of the natural law of winning which is within each one of us. We have distorted the natural gift of thick face, black heart, which was intended to support our spiritual and material growth. Now our task is to rediscover what we already possess. Key points 3, 7 stages of self-unfoldment. 1. The desire to do right. The intense desire to be good, to do the right thing. At this stage, you have no tolerance for thick face, black heart. 2. Confusion and negativity. The realization that you have been victimizing yourself through self-denial and the pretense of self-sacrifice arouses anger and resentment within you. You are confused by the despicable emotions you are experiencing. 3. The battle for surrender. By now you are trying to persuade yourself to accept your despicable emotions. 4. Acceptance of your imperfect perfection. You begin to see yourself as imperfectly perfect. You begin to break new ground and set new standards for yourself. 5. The new possibilities. At this stage, you have begun to develop the natural power of thick face, black heart. This power gives you the strength to stand up to your automatic, habitual actions and thoughts and venture into the new frontier. 6. The inner harmony. By breaking through your notion of others, standards and expectations, you find a new surge of inner harmony, the unfamiliar emotion of peace and tranquility. 7. Detachment, the power source of magnetism. The highest code of living is detachment. At this stage, nothing you possess, possesses you. You become the master of your possessions, rather than being possessed by them. Detachment is the secret key to obtain everything you want. Have you ever noticed when you stop wanting something, the object of your desire comes to you naturally? At this stage, you are to the world as the lotus blossom to the mud pond. Though it has outgrown the mud pond, it is untouched by the mud. Key points 4. Man's three qualities. 1. Tamas, inertia, obstruction, ignorance, ego domina, Tien. When one is in this state, one feels physically sluggish, lethargic and inactive, mental fogginess, dull, heavy, with a tendency to procrastinate, spiritually unenthusiastic, unresponsive, bored. This state, the guiding force for action, is dominated by ignorance. 2. Rajas, activity, struggle, influenced by ego. In this state, one is actively performing his tasks. His mind is agitated, excited, struggling, and sometimes in pain. His spirit is often restless. His activities may bring momentary pleasure, yet the nature of this pleasure is fickle. Sattva, expansion, pleasure, knowledge, and wisdom. One acts by being in tune with the guidance of that inner wisdom. In public, he is energetic and purposeful. In private, he is humbly cautious. He questions whether his actions are in line with the law of Dharma. Thus, the results of his actions are always beneficial for the greater good, as well as in fulfilling the good of his own destiny. Key points 5. Learning the virtues of the four forces. Nature follows the perfect law. Nature is the embodiment of thick face, black heart. Through contemplation of the natural forces, one obtains the state of thick face, black heart. 1. Sister water, gentle, submissive, humble, and ruthless. 2. Brother fire, useful, strong, fierce, destructive, purifying. 3. Brother wind, formless, strong, fierce. 4. Mother earth, giving, sacrificing, and sustaining. Key point 6. Godlike ego. The only kind of ego worthy of contemplation is the kind of ego that our Creator possesses, absolute, ultimate, gigantic, huge. Once this God-like ego enters your consciousness, it naturally destroys petty-mindedness and expands awareness. Key point 7. Godlike humility. When you get your small ego out of the way, your life can unfold naturally. The other side of a godlike ego is godlike humility. This is also the objective of a thick face, black heart practitioner, to be able to get petty-mindedness out of the way and simultaneously master ultimate humility and frailty. Key points 8. Although the East and West may not agree with the terminology and definition of the word of ego, they both agree with the importance of developing that awareness which supports your sense of connection to your divine maker and assists you in manifesting a strong sense of who you are in achieving your highest good. At the same time, they also agree that we should uproot the inferior and unworthy qualities from the depths of our souls. Key points 9. During my spiritual studies, I have seen no diversity, only unity among the teachings of the East and West. East and West may have different metaphors and symbols, but the differences are only in wrapping, not in the essence. Most of our efforts are in vain while we try to satisfy the unquenchable thirst for life. Chin-Ning Chu.